This video is sponsored by Luminar. I've been completely addicted to trying to find the third device for absolutely years. I've tried everything, from the iPad mini to older iPad Pros, to the Remarkable tablet, to physical notepads, to Android tablets, and now, of course, the 11-inch M5 iPad Pro. And I do actually think for the first time that I've found a device that'll do everything that I want. This is the first device that I've been genuinely using every day and enjoying it for the most part, and just not having it gather dust like the rest of them. I think there's quite a high aesthetic standard when it comes to reviewing Apple products, so I'm going to tidy my room and pretend that it's not a mess. Photo editing, probably the big one. I use 3 apps on my iPad Pro for photo editing. I have Adobe Lightroom, I have Luminar Mobile, and Pixelmator Pro. And here is the very good news. Editing on iPad is absolutely fantastic. If you're like me and you sit at the desk a lot, then even enjoyable tasks like photo editing can start to feel like work after a while. But on the iPad, maybe I'm sitting on the couch, maybe I'm in a coffee shop, maybe I'm traveling. It all just feels more fun again. And I love using the pencil too. It's really intuitive. But also note, if you only want to do photo editing, you don't have to splash out on the M5 fancy pants one. I've been editing on iPad for many, many years. In 2019, I was editing full wedding galleries on the older iPad Pro, and I think that was before the silicon M chips even existed. So don't feel like you have to splash out to the top of the range unless you're doing a few more use cases that I go through in this video. I use Lightroom and Luminar Mobile for the majority of my photo editing, and then Pixelmator is a little bit more like a Photoshop Lightroom hybrid. You can do a lot of the same stuff in there, but it's also really good for removing subjects from the background really quickly, and also just writing and handwriting on your images. I do this for socials and occasionally for thumbnails as well. So why hasn't the tablet solution worked in the past for me? I think I fall victim to this romantic notion that having a tablet on the go is automatically going to be fun and inspiring and modern and slick. And I'm gonna look like all those cool YouTubers. But the reality is, when you're changing your workspace from a big desktop to something very small, of course there are compromises. It all depends on whether those compromises are worth it for you. I mean, look at this. I tried to make the circle fit into the square hole that badly. At one point I was editing scripts on an iPad mini. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, I do know what I was thinking. I thought I was super cool when actually it was just not a comfortable working experience at all. So you've got to be logical about this, I think. If you go into an iPad purchase thinking that you can do absolutely everything, you'll likely end up frustrated. If you go in knowing that it'll be better for some things, okay for other things, and terrible for other things, you'll have a much better time. Emily from the future here. The following section is all about video editing from the perspective of a long-term Final Cut user. I have some updated thoughts at the end. So one thing I think it's terrible for is long-form video editing on the iPad Pro. I'm sorry, I've tried it and I really just can't do it. I mean, the app itself, Final Cut, might as well be called First Cut because I can't finish a blooming project on it. There's no real way to color grade, and it's just kind of a crippled experience. I can't add the plugins that I use on my desktop, for example. Since making this video, I've been lovingly bullied by my fellow content creators to try out DaVinci Resolve. Well, I think it's brilliant. The iPad version is basically as fully functioning as the desktop version, with just a few exceptions. You can transfer projects seamlessly. It's great, and I think I should have made the jump a long time ago. So if you're serious about long-form video on your iPad, please do yourself a favor and choose DaVinci Resolve. And it's free. There's a free version. The way that I do my short form has really changed since I got an iPad, and I love it for short form content. So if this is on your could it work list, short form is a big old tick from me. The way I do it is I have a big archive called like short form B-roll, which I put on a teeny tiny little 2TB hard drive, plug it into my iPad, and then I just have this whole pool of clips that I can pull from, whether that's me climbing or working at my desk or running around with a camera. And not only has this sped up my short form content editing, like I've done more of it because after I've done a long day of editing at my desk, the last thing I want to do is be like, long form, hat off, short form, hat on, let's get back to work. It just feels laborious. But if I can take this out and about, or if I can sit on the couch, usually more accurately, and just chip away at it at an evening, I get a lot more done. So if you want short form, iPad is a great way to do that. You can even attach your radio mics or use the built-in mics to do voiceovers as well. I've used Luminar Neo for a long time, and it remains one of the very best pay once and you're done Lightroom alternatives. And I think the Luminar app is really well designed. So many iPad apps just look like the desktop versions with tiny little sliders, and that can sometimes be fiddly. With Luminar, all the controls are at the edges of the screen, and it's really intuitive to use by hand. There's new features in both the app and the desktop versions to enhance the look of your bokeh, and you can even import LUTs to the desktop so you can use your own custom presets. So here are the buy once and you're done prices. The cross-device license includes the desktop version as well as a tablet app, and the max license includes over 1,000 creative assets like presets, LUTs, skies, and overlays. I speak about this a lot on my channel, but my favourite feature in Luminar Neo is how you can use the autumn effect to smooth out and give your images that really ethereal look. I use it all the time. I have a lovely discount code for you to use, which gives you 10% off any license, and you can check everything out in the description. Let's get back to the nerdiness. I have seen this screen protector in quite literally every iPad video I've ever watched, so let's see what the fuss is about. Hashtag not sponsored. Manifesting future sponsors. Also, I had this case for like months and I've only just realised that there's a USB-C in it. How cool. Oh God. Oh God, I've got homework.
Now that our screen is clean, we just grab our paper like.
I feel like a real YouTuber now. My verdict so far is it makes the colours and the black levels about 5% worse, but it makes the experience of writing and removing the glare and the shine of the screen exponentially better. So yes, maybe all those influencers were right, the Paperlike is really, really good. For carousel posts on Instagram and showing off your photography with a bit of text or a bit of handwriting, I think Canva is a wonderful app. It works great on the desktop, but really, really good on the iPad. And I've had a couple of posts using this method get relatively good numbers for me anyway. So I think using carousels and designing the text around the photographs works very well. So this has become an accidental iPad test. I needed to change the very end of a sponsored reel, like the outro call to action. So I recorded the ending and then I had to do a fresh edit of the reel with a very tight deadline. For short form content, I don't see why I would need a laptop on the go. So what about video filming? I have two sort of workflows for this depending on the type of project. First of all, because I shoot on the Lumix S1 for my talking head stuff and use my iPad as a big all wireless monitor. Or for projects like this, where I just wanted to make sure that I get everything right and say everything in 1 or 2 takes and not 100. I actually have an iPad teleprompter. I'm quite new to teleprompting. As you can see, I'm completely ad-libbing right now. I try to stick on the rails and then I just go off the rails, so I don't know if it's going to be for me long term. But where this is really handy is if I have a spec heavy video with lots of numbers and then I'll be able to check my notes without having to pause and look down at my phone, for example. If you do like a teleprompter, the iPad experience is 10 times better than using your phone. And now I'm having to wait for it to scroll because I've gone completely off-piste. What is the iPad actually better for than your desktop or a laptop? I do most of my ideation and planning on the iPad. There are 3 apps that I use for this, and that's Freeform, Millernote, and GoodNotes. GoodNotes is a simple digital notebook and you can write your ideas down in a big old dump or a journal, and it's just nice when I have a lot of deadlines and I just want to sort of word vomit onto the page. It just doesn't work for me personally by doing that typing. Typing just feels a little bit too much like work and scripting, whereas writing it down long form sort of like slows me down and gets me back in the game. Millernote and Freeform sort of perform similar functions. They're basically a big digital corkboard. Freeform in particular is so good. It's a completely free app that's built into every new iPad, and it is Apple specific, which is annoying, which is why I use Millernote, because I have an Android phone. I can't quit the foldy boy. One thing I'm doing at the moment is I'm trying to update my website. So I've done like a mood board in free form, looking at things that other people are doing and pulling it all together into one space so I can send it to a web designer and we can get cracking. So I use those apps to sort of get the ideas out and sort of start roughly planning things, and then I use Notion to do everything else. It's a bit of a stuffy piece of software comparatively, you know, you can't be all flamboyant and make it all pretty, but it does the blooming job, and I've used that for a long time, and it syncs automatically with phones, iPads, etc. So I do have the foldy boy. I have had a folded phone for I think 4 years now and I love it. So I have to think about how the iOS syncs with Android. Here are my essential apps. First of all, local send. This is like AirDrop, but I actually find it more reliable than AirDrop, and it works with Android as well. Plus you have a bonus of it naming all of your devices really silly names, and it's completely free. Notion and Milano, as I've said, they're all cross-compatible, wonderful. And then my favourite sort of to-do list is Todoist. And I have little boards where it's like house things to do, YouTube things to do, and I can share it with my husband and we have a lovely to-do list to work through. Such is life as an adult, but it's a very good app. So what other use cases do I use my iPad for? Backing up photos and video when I travel is very important. Some trips I'll have to take a laptop, fair enough. Other trips I would much prefer to travel lightly. And the iPad is great in the sense that I can back everything up using my little SSD and my mini little card reader. If I want to start editing my photos or short form while I'm out and about, I absolutely can. In fact, the last couple of trips that I've been on, I've had all of my photos edited before I've got home. So if you've seen any of my Cape Town videos that I've done recently, every photo in those videos was edited on my iPad, mostly on the plane. Let's talk about accessories. Here are some of my favourites and what I would consider basically essential accessories if you want to get an iPad. First of all, the pencil. I wouldn't even bother getting an iPad without one. I think it unlocks what the whole point of the iPad is, which is like a tactile experience, like a mixture between laptop and journal. Do I think it should be in the box? Absolutely. My Samsung tablet did come with one. You didn't have to buy it separately, so it can be done, Apple. In terms of cases, I have two. It's a bit weird, and I'll tell you why. The Magic Keyboard is a wonderful typing laptop experience. The trackpad is great. Everything about it is wonderful. It's just like having a small Mac. As a consequence, it's quite heavy. It might not be very large, but it's very dense, and it feels about as heavy as like some of my MacBooks that I've had in the past. So I don't really like to go out and about with the keyboard unless I know I'm specifically going to be writing. I do use the keyboard loads on the couch at home, actually, which is really nice. I've also got one of the flappy folio cases as well, which is much lighter, keeps everything safe, and it's the one that I prefer when I'm out and about, to be honest. And this sling bag, I love this sling bag. It's small, but it fits the iPad perfectly. What is it wonderful for? Photo editing, photo masking, using the pencil all intuitively and stuff. Planning, scripting, typing, note-taking, it's wonderful. But ideation is mainly what I use it for, so idea gathering, plotting, scheming, brain dumping. And perhaps the most important thing that the iPad is genuinely wonderful for is making your work not quite feel like work. Let me tell you the night and day between sitting at my desktop and typing out a script, or sitting in a coffee shop, or sitting on the couch and quickly editing a short form video versus doing it at 7 p.m. at my desk. There's just no contest. Like, if you want an iPad to increase your creativity and productivity and to sort of feel like things are a bit more fun, it definitely does that. So do I have any regrets? This is admittedly a very expensive purchase, and it's definitely a luxury. It's a third device, as I said at the beginning. So you absolutely do not need any of this in order to be a photographer or a content creator. But honestly, for the first time in years and years, I have absolutely no regrets when it comes to buying a tablet. As you can see, I have a lovely little dust pile of devices that I'm in the process of selling now that I've finally found a winner. So it's been a lot of trial and error over the years, and I'm really happy to have found a solution that works for me. In terms of performance, everything that I've thrown at this M5 iPad Pro, it's just been phenomenal. It's never stuttered, it's never slowed down, there's been no lag whatsoever. I think like with everything everything that I speak about on this channel. We don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds. Something that's maybe a little bit older or used can give you a brilliant experience without having to break the bank. But having said that, I've bought this as like a longer term investment. If I get the highest processor now, then I hope that this device will last me for 5+ years. So that's my thought process in going to the top of the range. But you don't have to, depending on what your needs are. So let me know in the comments what you think about the iPad Pro and whether it's right for you. And if you already have an iPad and use it a lot in your workflow, I'd love to see how you use it, because I think as iPad users, we're always looking at new ways to implement this technology.